What is up, guys? So in this video, we're going to be going over how to build an AI chatbot. So here's a demo chatbot. I'll be showing how I built step by step. This is a chatbot designed to answer questions about a paid ads marketing agency. So I asked it, what are the best practices for onboarding new clients? It answers this. It shows the actual SOPs and the section within the SOP that we got the answer from. And we also validate if the answer was pulled from this SOP. That way we don't give clients any potential wrong information, okay? So in this video, I'm gonna be showing step by step how to build this while also including all the code needed for you guys to do this. That way you guys can do this yourself or hand it off to a dev to do all this stuff for you. The example I'm going to use in this video, by the way, is helping account managers handle customer support for an agency / B2B SaaS. Specifically here, we're going to focus on a paid ads marketing agency, okay? Note though, everything I talk about in this video can apply to any chatbot. So the first thing we're going to do, and to me this is the most important step when building any chatbot or honestly working with anything AI related, it's building a knowledge base. Like, you don't even need to know how to code to do this part. You actually I don't even use code to do this part. So what is a knowledge base? It's imagine your AI is like a smart intern. If you wanted to help answer questions, you need to give it the right information. You need to give it the documents, the conversations, the FAQs that your team normally uses to answer such questions, right? That pile of information is what makes a knowledge base. It's a clean, structured version of all the stuff your team already knows. And this is by far, in my opinion, the highest ROI part of this entire process of building a chatbot. It's not the code. It's not even the prompt. It's not the AI. It is building the knowledge base. This is the highest ROI thing that people always skimp out on. And they think an AI can read their mind and do all the heavy lifting. Get this part right, and building a chatbot, like, it makes it so much fucking easier. So step one for building a knowledge base, it is going to be collecting data. So think about it like this. If you had to train a VA or a new AM on how to answer questions about your customers, your business, what would you give them? Okay. So this is usually things like SOPs, FAQs, like any supporting documentation that you may have on your business. So I wrote these out for this demo right here. So again, we're working with a paid ads agency. So this is gonna be an SOP for reporting and performance review for paid ads. What is this one? Onboarding. This is just some FAQs and internal support documentation. Things like that. If you have these, this is perfect for building a good chatbot, okay? B tier content is going to be Slack messages, support messages, onboarding calls, sales call recordings, emails between AMs and clients. And the reason why these are B tier content is because these all require a ton of processing to become useful. Because I hear all the time that I have a bunch all these Slack messages with my clients. I can just feed this into an AI and it can just learn everything. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't work like that, right? Like, there is so much noise in those Slack messages that yes, it could do a lot of right things, but could also do a lot of wrong things. Right? So for a good example is, let's say with a client asked, when's my campaigns going live? And you say like in 5 days, right? What if it reads that part and it thinks 5 days that's the usual for every client, right? Like, it could easily fuck up, right? And that's what we don't want. We don't want to be giving your clients the wrong information, because that's what we're trying to minimize. The key to a good chatbot or a good system overall, like any AI system, is producing the right answer or the right information, and also mitigating it giving it the wrong information as well. Because one wrong answer could, again, this depends on the situation, but one wrong answer could be the difference of you burning a client relationship, right? Because what if you say 3 days and it's actually usually 10 days because the AI got it wrong? So again, Slack threads are full of back and forth banter and client-specific asks. Same thing with support emails, right? Call recordings are just a bunch of just fluffing, like a lot of it's rapport a lot of times, and then it's like 10% useful. So yeah, if you're going to use B-tier content, you have to treat it as raw material, not plug and play input. And yeah, you can, I've done this before, and this will require a full separate video. You can mine these insights using LLMs, like give it the Slack conversations and chop it up, give it the Slack convos, have an LLM pull out the FAQs from it, right? That's possible. It still requires a lot of manual work, right? So at the end of the day though, if you want a knowledge base that actually reflects how your business runs, you or someone on your team just needs to sit down, write the core support docs yourself, because nobody, not even GPT, can know your business better than you. And again, taking the time to do this makes such a difference. And this is coming from someone that codes for a living. This is 10 times more important than the actual code, having this structure. It makes life 10 times easier, okay? So now, let's say we have our support documents. Now that we gather the data, we need to clean it up and format our data in a way to store it in our knowledge base. So when it comes to S tier content, right? So this is gonna be support documents that we're working with, things like that. We want to export it in a markdown file, either a markdown, HTML, or docx file. Reason why is we want to retain the headings and bullet points and lists. So no TXT files. We don't want a PDF either, because look at when you go to Google Docs, notice it has all these headings things right here. This is actually super useful information, because when we chop this up, we know which sections are where the sections stop at now. So metrics to track by funnel stage. Let's say this ends right when it gets to performance insights generation. So now if we say a document's like 60 pages, you're not going to feed that entire 60-page document into an LM. You have to cut it up. And if you can cut it up by section, that makes life even easier. And again, if the section's long, we can split the section, but we know which section or which parts, if you chop things up, like let's just say I cut off a chart part right here to give it to an LM. Wouldn't it be better if it also had the actual section title with it so it knows what it's referring to, right? We want to provide the LLM the best context possible, all right? So yeah. So again, big thing is preserving section structure, as I just talked about. So keep H2/H3 style headers. So just like what I'm talking about here. So look, when I click on this, it's heading 3. And when I go to here, it's heading 2. I'm very consistent and organized with my heading structure with all of these SOPs. Because again, this makes life 1,000 times easier. Okay, and remove any potentially irrelevant content. So I already did that already. But next thing is pre-processing B-tier content. So again, support messages, sales calls, emails. So when it comes to support messages, you can use the platform's API, so Slack, HubSpot, whatever it is. Run the raw data through an LLM filter to filter out for threads that include both clear customer questions and a complete support response. Okay, and you want to store as a JSON file. And I'll make a separate video on this, but this is a much more work than just a couple of bullet points, I would say. But nonetheless, yeah, you want to store it as a JSON file and then just manually review each JSON just to make sure the content is actually accurate. We'll do the same thing with sales call recordings and onboarding calls. So like transcribe the recordings using any AI tool out there right now. Use an LM to review the transcript and extract only the relevant segments. So like when the AM or like say the sales rep is explaining the process, the benefits, or the product features. When you're handling objections, of course. When you're answering questions, shit like that, right? And same thing, we want to store as JSON objects and review all of them. Step 3, it is going to be chunking. When I say chunking, that's going to be slicing up the documents, okay? Because when you have large documents, that confuses the AI. You don't want to feed a 5,000 word PDF into GPT. Especially like you're just gonna get a bunch of hallucinated answers because it makes it 10 times harder to read. And sure, context windows have gotten bigger. Just imagine it's a normal employee, right? Would you? And it's the employee's question is like, how does an onboarding kickoff call work? Would you rather give it the entire onboarding doc or give that person the entire onboarding doc, or would you actually just give it this specific section of the kickoff call agenda, right? Wouldn't that be much easier for said person? So wouldn't that make it easier for the AI as well? So again, we want to feed it the chunk of data that's actually important to it. So again, so chunking solves this by giving the AI smaller bite-sized pieces of context to work with. So how do we chunk content? So if we have S-tier content, so again, like support documentation, things like that, especially if they're well segmented by headlines, you can just make each section a chunk. So just like, let's just do this onboarding doc or this review doc, right? So like this one right here, this is a header 2. We're going to split it up by header 2s, right? Like just this whole part would be a chunk. So that way, if we get a question about reporting, we can just give it this chunk, right? And if a specific section is super long, let's just say it's significantly greater than 750 words. Let's just say it's like 1,500 words. Then you can split it up and just make multiple chunks for each section using like a recursive splitter. And you can just do this through code pretty easily. And one thing I always do is if you split up a section, I always include the section header at the beginning of each chunk. Just to, again, give it more context on like what this chunk is about. So like, for example, let's say I split this up right here. Let's just say we got segment by variables. Like, what do these steps 3 and 4 even relate to? Like, if you just saw this like raw, like what would this even mean? Like, right? Wouldn't it be easier if I just knew that it has to pertain with performance insights and communicating results, right? So yeah, just to give, again, at the end of the day, we just want to give the AI the most content or the most context possible. So for B tier content, so after we've like chopped everything up and like did all the pre-processing, our recursive text splitter, again, from LangChain, just forgot to spell this, is just the easiest one, but I just usually use a chunk size of 1,000 with an overlap of 100. And this is optional. You can also add corresponding metadata for each chunk. So this is an example of a JSON file of a chunk I built. So let's just say the title is client onboarding SOP for the billing setup and payment collection. That's the actual text that we chopped up. And then what we're going to do is we also stored like the tags for the audience, just things like that. It just makes life easier if you want to filter and things like that, but it's not necessary. So step 4 is going to be embedding and storing everything inside a vector base. So think of an embedding as just a fancy way of turning a chunk of text into numbers. So again, chunks for us is going to be by section. So let's just say for this one, like a chunk is going to be one of our chunks will be a client kickoff call agenda, right? So that's going to be a chunk. We're going to turn that into embedding. So that's essentially just a long list of numbers or a vector here that represents the meaning of that text. So for example, how do I change my credit card or how can I update my payment info? Those are the two same sentences really, right? But they mean the same thing. And the embeddings will let the AI say that it's similar even though the words are different. So it's like when you do like a keyword search, but the keyword search isn't like that good because like you have to get the exact keyword right, but there's words that are similar to it, right? It captures all that, okay? So yeah, An example of embedding, again, this is a very small one. Most embeddings are like hundreds of numbers long. It's like, how do I change my credit card would be this set of numbers. How can I update my payment info will be this set of numbers. And notice that each of these set of numbers are actually very similar in value. So what we can do then is to know that they're similar is just by doing math, you use a similarity function just to see like if it's under some threshold or above some threshold, okay? The whole point of chunking though is so that we can convert each chunk that we get, right? So we're gonna, again, chunk all these up by section, right? So each chunk, we're gonna convert them into an embedding. We're gonna store these embeddings into a vector database because again, each of these chunks are hundreds of numbers long. Like you can't just store all, say you have 1,000 chunks, you can't just store all this in a Google Sheet. Like you have to actually store this in like an actual database. I'm gonna show you how to do all this, and I already have the code written out for you guys. But yeah, you have to store all this in a database later, so that way when a user asks a question, we can convert that question into an embedding or a vector and find the closest matching chunks using math. So let's just say, right, the question in the chatbot is, let's just say, how does a kickoff call work for onboarding? What it's gonna do, it's gonna actually grab this chunk because it's gonna realize you said the words kickoff call, onboarding. It's gonna know that this is the section to grab because their embeddings will actually be very similar to each other. Or if you say, what's the handoff process look like? It will actually pull this text along with other relevant text, okay? The whole point of it, again, if you want to feed the AI the correct info at the right time. So that means giving it the right set of context from all of our docs based off the question, okay? So again, that way we can inject the relevant content into our prompt so that the LM can correctly answer the question without guessing or hallucinating. For our vector store, we're going to use pinecone.io. So just make an account on pinecone.io, make an account, click API keys, and click create API key, okay? So because we're going to need that, obviously, to push our data up into Pinecone. So this is a script I wrote out to chunk all our support documents and push them into a vector database. So I'm going to put this GitHub repo inside the actual description, but all you have to do is just put this internal support documents or whatever documentation that you have into the folder KB docs, so knowledge base docs, and run this code, and watch, I will run it right now. So let's just Python SOP uploader.py. Look at that. It chopped up the 3 docs into chunks, right? And pushed it into Pinecone, our vector store. So this is, again, this is going to store all those vectors, those embeddings, those long list of numbers. It's going to store all of them. So let's show you guys what it looks like. So this is Pinecone, right? So let's just click on this. Oh, this is the same one as before, I think. So as you can see, this is going to be the embedding. And let's just show you guys what it looks like. I'm going to just show it here. Like, it's long. Like, this represents, see all these numbers? It's stupidly long. Like, all this represents this piece of text right here. Like, and it's able to capture the meaning of the entire thing, okay? Which is super sick, right? We also store the section title, right? Just again to add so that we can push it into our prompt with the title as well. But yeah, we chopped up all those 3 documentations, those 3 docs, and then created an embedding for each of them. And nonetheless, this is gonna be in the description so that you guys just run it very easily and implement this yourself. Now that we have all of our data inside the actual knowledge base, we can actually get to building the chatbot. Notice how we spent all this time building all the knowledge base. That, again, this is the most important part. Like, this chatbot part actually took me like 10 minutes to build using Cursor. Like, it's so easy to build with Cursor or like whatever, like N8N. Like, the chatbot is actually the easiest part to do. Okay, so again, how we're gonna build the chatbot now though, it's gonna be with RAG. So RAG is a technique that lets your chatbot pull from your knowledge base instead of relying purely on the model's memory, which has no information on your business, right? It pulls the data from all those chunks, like finds out which relevant chunks we have in our knowledge base based off the query or the user question. Before the AI answers the question you give it, we go find relevant info from our knowledge base or the relevant chunks, right? And include it into the prompt so that it personalizes the answer to your business, okay? So first thing we're gonna do is just create a prompt template. And I didn't do anything too crazy. I just wrote this one up. And again, you see on Twitter all the time, everyone talk about prompts. We are building a full AI chatbot right here. I spent, out of all this time building this, I spent probably like 2 seconds building this prompt. Like, it's nothing sexy, right? It does all the basic stuff, but like this shit's like just a normal prompt. But what's most important is that we're able to give it, that we have relevant information to give it, and that we're able to give it the right information at the right time based off the question provided. So what it will look like when you actually give it a question. So let's say we prompt our chatbot and we give it a question like, what does the onboarding process look like? It'll actually fill in the question, obviously, right? But we'll actually extract the relevant text from our knowledge base about onboarding to give it to the AI in the prompt. So now it has actual personalized information on your company to pretty much answer its question. Here's how RAG, or how building a chatbot, works. This is how I've always done it, okay? So let's just say a user query happens. So how long does it normally take to launch an ad campaign from onboarding? We're going to convert this query, this question, into its embedding. So convert how long does it take to normally blah, blah, blah into an embedding. What we're then going to do is do the embedding similarity search. It pulls these 3 chunks, like the ones I just shown, right? It's going to check for the scores, because what we do with these functions or these similarity models, that it gives back a score of how similar it is to one another. Because the big thing is, what we don't want to do is, let's say, what if we don't have information about onboarding in our knowledge base, and we ask it that question, and GPT spits out a bullshit answer, and then now your AM gives a bullshit answer to the client, right? That is the last thing we want. So what we want to do is make sure that the similarity score is actually like decently high before we put it in. That way, if it doesn't have anything, we can notify the user that we do not have the data to confidently answer the question. But if these chunks of text are relevant and have a high similarity score, we then feed it to the LLM, right? We structure the output generated by the LLM. So again, you know, sometimes like the LLM, like GPT will say like, here's the answer to the question, then it will actually give you the answer to the question. We want to just pull just the answer to the question, obviously, right? And what we do, and this is what a lot of people forget to do. So let's just say, again, we get the answer that the LLM generated, right? So the LLM answered the question like, let's say how long onboarding takes, right? Using the chunks of text we provided. What we want to do is sometimes AI models fuck up all the time, right? We want to mitigate that because again, we don't want to feed our clients the wrong information. So what I always recommend to people is have a validation step. So we're going to prompt an LLM again where we give it the question, the context they're provided, so the chunks that we provided here, right? And the answer generated, and we're going to ask it, here's the answer to this question. Is this answer derived from the context, yes or no? Or is it derived from the chunks, yes or no, right? If it fails to do so, right, that means the LLM fucked up and we need to notify the user, and that way we can add it to the knowledge base correctly. Or if it passes, we just return the answer. The key thing I always make sure to focus on is making sure that chatbot doesn't answer a question incorrectly. Because again, a lot of these questions are going to customers, they're going to clients. Like, you don't want to fuck up that relationship at the end of the day, right? Actually build this chatbot interface that I showed earlier and like actually put this into production, right? So I already wrote all the code for you guys. It's in this GitHub repo. I put this in, it's a second GitHub repo. I put it in the description down below. So to deploy this chatbot, all you have to do is make an account on huggingface.co, okay? Once you make an account, click spaces, right? So click new space, name it whatever you want. Let's say chatbot, demo, temp, right? Temp. Click Gradio. Leave everything else the same and click create space. So what we do now is click settings and we scroll down to variables and secrets, and we need to click new secret. And for each of these, we need to have a secret for each of these. So OpenAI API, the OpenAI API key, the OpenAI embedding model, Pinecone API key, and the Pinecone index name. So all we have to do is just copy and paste that into, and I'm not going to do the actual API key because I don't want that out there. But, and so for example, it would look like this. Okay, and I'm going to do the rest of them right now. And at the end, you should have it like this. So OpenAI embedding model, OpenAI API key, Pinecone API key, and Pinecone index name. Okay? And then from there on, we scroll up, hit files, we hit contribute, upload files, click this, and all the files from that GitHub repo for this chatbot, just upload it into here and click commit changes to main. So again, it's going to be this one, this chatbot demo. Again, I'm going to link this all in the description. And what you can see now is actually building the chatbot, and you'll see what it looks like when it's finished. All right, and this is what it ends up looking like, which you guys have already seen, but it'll show running up here. And now you can ask it any questions you want, and this link is public, so you can share with anyone. Like if I go to incognito, right, like takes you straight there to use, and we can ask it any question we want about this agency. Let's say, what is the kickoff call we do about? So click get answer. It's going to process everything and generate the answer off. The kickoff is about building rapport and establishing trust, blah, blah, blah. And where does it get that? From this specific chunk right here. Onboarding kickoff call checklist, right? So again, it's going to show you what I like is that it actually shows the source that we actually obtained and the actual the file with the section, so we can actually reference back to make sure this is correct, while also providing the answer. But yeah, that is the end of this video. If you guys have any questions about any of this whatsoever, please shoot me a message on Twitter. Happy to help in any way, but thank you guys so much and hope you guys have a great day.